not my
We're just gonna start, everybody. We're back. We're back again. It is Narayan, yours truly, and it is Prema Rupa, your servant, Prema Rupa, and Navadwip Mandal. We are here on the Hare Krishna Hot Take. After a little bit of a hiatus.
We haven't seen you in a minute.
We've just been, taking time to refine our direction, and now we're back and better than ever. And to start off with a bang, what are we talking about today, Prema?
So recently we had this whole case, the accumulation of this whole case with the ISKCON Bangalore and ISKCON Mumbai.
We going there.
So in our very uninformed mishmash
personal opinion, uneducated.
Let's get together and talk about
it. We're gonna talk about it. We had to talk about it. Like, so many topics have come up.
Let me just put a disclaimer in here, because we got to put the disclaimer. We do not represent any ISKCON organization, Gaudiya Vaishnav organization. ISKCON. Hindu organization. No, don't say that, because if you say something crazy, it's gonna.
I don't speak for ISKCON.
That's what I'm saying. We don't represent any of these people.
Okay, disclaimer. We don't represent nobody. We don't talk to nobody.
I'm having an out-of-body experience right now. I barely represent myself.
I am no one.
We don't represent
and no
anybody.
one knows me. No one cares if I live or die. Yeah. Okay, so don't take my words.
Grain of salt. These are just jokes. These are just personal opinions.
Not grain of salt. We're going to talk about some stuff that maybe you should digest a little bit.
A grain of hing.
Hing, black pepper, a lot of oil, basil. But we are getting into the topic. It is a controversial one. RITVIKism, ISKCON, Bangalore, Madhu Pandit, the GBC. We have to talk about it a little bit. Yeah. I don't know how we could pass up this opportunity. So, for those of you who are in our ISKCON camp, maybe take an opportunity to kind of hear arguments on the other side of the board and what is the whole deal with that. And for those of you who are or who do identify themselves as Ritvik or Ritvik leaning, you're going to hear some stuff. No, I want to be fair. This is going to be a nice conversation, but it needs to be discussed because there's so much drama going on. And where do we begin?
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever had an experience with a Ritvik person?
Many.
Really?
Yes, many. So my father is a proper disciple, as you know.
Yes.
Right? And he has growing up with him, it was very nice to see him interact with both sides of the table. Right? He had plenty of Prabhupada disciple Ritvik godbrothers, and they were just buddies, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like a relationship from the old days. Whatever disagreements there may have been philosophically or communally. I remember growing up with, I'm not going to name names here out of respect because, YouTube and YouTube comments can be a very slippery slope. But I'll just say, I grew up around various different sides of the table, and it was just conversation. So I managed to, learn a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I've never really met any Ritvik people. Well, I've met, a couple, but we didn't, talk about it. We never got into it. But there was, this instance when I was in university, and I was in charge of When was I in university? Listen, dinosaurs walked the earth.
Is this Minnesota?
This was in North Dakota, in Fargo, North Dakota. Ooh. I went to university there, and I was in charge of the Vedic Cultural Society.
You're joking.
Nope, it
was.
And so then, my name was in if any devotees was visiting, they would know, there's a devotee in Fargo they could connect with, you know? So somehow the Ritvik organization had seen my address, and they would mail me those Back to Prabhupada magazines.
Ooh, I think I know Back to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
I get their emails sometimes.
Delete!
I do. They all go to spam.
Yeah.
But
I would get
I think I know what you're talking about.
I would get those magazines, and I was like, this is crazy. I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? But they would have pictures of like different ISKCON gurus, like it was like Bhakti Chara Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Jagannath Maharaj, and of course they're saying like nonsense about them, but I would like cut out the pictures and like put it on my altar. So they did a little service, like, so that was like my lone interaction. Really, like with Ritvik people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
So
for those of you who don't know, probably we should explain what the divide is. A little bit of history, perhaps?
Yes.
Now, I may not be so accurate with my recollection, but so I think so first explain Ritvikism, right? Before we get into Madhupan and what's happening today. For those of you who don't know or who aren't aware, Ritvik is the Sanskrit name for a type of connection that a disciple can have with the guru that is not exactly diksha. So diksha is when you go and you formally take initiation.
Just a small correction there.
Please.
Ritvik is actually just a person who's a proxy.
A proxy.
Yeah, so they're doing something on behalf of somebody else. So
really?
Yes, so like in Bhagavatam, a Ritvik is Srila Prabhupada translated as a priest.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just like the priest will sit at the yajna and they're doing the yajna on behalf of the king and the queen or whatever.
Or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the literal definition of Ritvik.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, so Ritvikism as opposed to Diksha initiation is where somebody else makes the initiation on behalf of the guru?
Yeah.
Is that always been the case?
A Ritvik can be for anything. But in our case, we talk about it in
this context,
yes.
right? In the
yes.
initiation
yes.
context.
Yes.
And a lot of this was based off of Srila Prabhupada's final instructions when he was close to leaving this planet. He set up the path forward because he wasn't going to be around, or he knew he wasn't going to be around. So he set up an instruction where 11 sannyasis were given the authority to take disciples on behalf of Srila Prabhupada after his departure. No, wrong. During his final months, I guess, here. When did Prabhupada pass away? August? Was it? No.
November of 1977.
November. So from the July, August, October, November. So in the last 4 months, right, this system was set up. I think that's important, and we'll get to that a little later. So have I covered everything? Is that like what?
That's basically, basically that's what the Ritviks claim is that was Srila Prabhupada's final instruction as far as initiations go forward.
No, just describing Ritvikism. That was right. And then the argument for Ritviks today is that was Srila Prabhupada's will going forward, and ISKCON GBC, they say no.
Yeah. Basically, it's a
misinterpretation of the will of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So, how do we go forward from it? What a decades-long conversation.
Yeah.
I doubt we're going to clarify anyone's mind here. So today is literally just for illumination purposes, right? Where do we go from here? More importantly, how do we go forward when now it's such a divide? It really is pretty divisive.
Do you want to watch, because Dayaram made a short statement before the court made their...
Yes.
Would you like to watch that?
Yes.
Could you pull that up?
Okay.
Just type in ISKCON Mayapur Dayaram, and it should
Oh wait,
pull
he
up.
put a...
Our temple had Dayaram make a 4-minute statement.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, wait. Before that, now we need to come to today. Wait, there's ISKCON Bangalore. We are all over the place, guys. You need to catch up or you can get out of town because we don't know what we're doing. But recently what's happened is that the Bangalore temple, which is headed by Madhu Pandit Prabhu, and he's one of the Ritvik camp, one of the main propagators of the Ritvik society.
Yeah.
Now, back in the 70s, or maybe 70s, I think it was, the Bangalore temple, my knowledge is very limited on this, but from what I understood, the ISKCON temple was originally bought by Srila Prabhupada, and for legal reasons, it had to be put into a separate trust. Yes? That's
not what Dayaram says.
We'll get to that.
Yes.
But is that the basis? So what happened was, I don't know, man.
Okay. We're going to keep all of this.
All of it. I don't care. Let them see. No one cares. No one cares. Like, this is us. So it's so confusing. Why didn't we do like how to make aloo sabji? You know, like.
Yeah.
ISKCON Bangalore was bought. It had to be put into a separate trust.
Can I just say one thing before we continue with ISKCON Bangalore? Is
Okay.
that how Ritvikism came about is like late 70s, early 80s, when all the stuff with the zonal acharyas was happening and the child abuse and everything was happening.
Exactly.
And it was like people are losing their minds. And then there was, the GBC had decided, let's have like a ISKCON, like someone that would look into it, right? And it was headed up by like Ravindra Swarup Prabhu and some other devotees. And they were kind of looking into all these cases to see what was going on. Because there was a lot of really crazy, bad, terrible stuff happening in those times.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a faction of people that was like, this is not enough. None of you are qualified. And they were like, let's just go do their own thing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that is the Ritvik argument.
So
a big reason.
I could understand their feeling, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think personally for me, the reason why this is such a big deal now is because of the disappointment felt in these leaders that fell down. And falling down is a very light way of putting it. Like, if you don't know, this is actually, I feel, part of our ISKCON upbringing. Like, as much as I am against wantonly going, you know that there's the whole movie on Kirtanananda?
Yep.
I will not watch it.
No?
Not my thing. No. Like, I don't believe in intentionally going and scouring all the crazy things of the deep, dark underbelly. I think that poisons the mindset. But you do need to know your history a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So I think that disappointment is what led to Ritvikism. People said, you know what? We're just going to go to Prabhupada directly. We can't deal with any of this. Right? Like,
Understandable.
understandable.
But at the same time, it's like
It's so complicated. We are a complicated community. Like
any community, I think. I mean, like, look at Christianity. Like, how many factions of Christianity is there, you know?
yeah, I never understood that. Like, you just make your own sampradaya?
They have their own understanding of how, like, the Bible should be interpreted, and that's what they do.
Say hi.
Hi.
Do you want to say anything else?
Yep.
Okay, goodbye.
Do you want to give everyone a wave?
So I don't know if you want to read, there was a Times of India article about, or let's start with Dayaram. We were starting
Okay,
with Dayaram.
let's start with Dayaram.
Let's start with Dayaram.
Well, I was giving context
Yes.
to readers, right?
Right.
The temple was bought. It was supposed to be. It was legally put into another trust. When all this Ritvikism stuff happened, Madhu Pandit decided that he would take over the temple that was originally purchased under ISKCON auspices, and it has been from around 2000, the year 2000. It's been in legal contention ever since. So 24 years of fighting over who has control of this temple. And recently, this was a couple of days ago, the reason that we're putting up this video is because the Supreme Court, this went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of ISKCON Bangalore, declaring it to have been legally an independent society, shocker to me, and that ISKCON Mumbai, which is like our legal center, like legally ISKCON is based, at least ISKCON in India, is based in Mumbai. That's where Srila Prabhupada set it all up. That the Supreme Court said that ISKCON Mumbai is prohibited from interfering in ISKCON Bangalore's affairs. Big judgment, I feel.
Yeah.
And now the so-called fallout. So what did Dayaram say? Let's put that up.
Let's look it
put
up.
that up.
And we can, like, pause and chat about it, like, whenever he says something. We made sure to put Prabhupada in there. I'm kidding. Cute.
I'm nervous.
Why?
I don't know.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome. We are in Sridham, Mayapur, and we are joined by none other than the famous Dayaram Das, who is fighting the case
Haribol.
on behalf of
Haribol.
ISKCON
Hi,
with Madhu
Dayaram.
Pandit Das. Let's ask him.
Prabhu.
Prabhuji, few months ago, we saw one of your videos. In that video, you told that the case is all about fraud and property. But we saw a recent video of Madhu Pandit Das where he's saying that it is about the 9th of July letter of Prabhupada and the
So I did find a copy of the 9th July letter, and we can maybe read it after this, because there's
Yeah.
points to be made.
Yes.
Interestingly enough.
Ritvik way of initiation that has to be brought in ISKCON. Please, can you tell us what is the truth, Prabhuji?
There is nothing can be further from the truth. If Madhu Pandit Das is claiming he is getting 9 July letter implemented in ISKCON, he never asked such a relief, not even once. Out of 5 different cases he has filed, directly or indirectly, against ISKCON, he never asked for such a relief.
But I just wanted to make a note, like, do you see how, so Madhu Pandit is making this about, like, the final order of Srila Prabhupada and
Dayaram is saying
Dayaram-
this is a land and
this
a
is a-
fraud and a money
dispute.
issue.
Yes.
Now, point to be taken, ISKCON Bangalore is very wealthy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in favor of either argument, but it should be known that ISKCON Bangalore is extremely wealthy. A lot of people attribute this to Madhu Pandit Prabhu's management style. It's a very tip-top shape in there. I don't know if it's, I've heard arguments where it's very Third Reich, it's very,
Yeah.
and others saying, no, he's following Prabhupada, he's not dealing with the BS, and it's a tip-top shape. That being, and there's food for life happening everywhere, like there's free food. That's one of the things I was talking about with a friend the other day, is that, like, he's doing a lot of food for life. And we don't do that, you know what I mean? That's also one of Prabhupada's orders. Although I do have to question, it being this wealthy, where is the money coming from? Is it donations? Because that's a whole other conversation. VIPs donating money and all that. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, that's about it.
Yeah.
Only person who asked for such a relief was Advaita Das in Calcutta High Court. So his case was never about 9 July letter or Ritvik initiation. His case was he and his family's control over the property.
I just want to say he's getting into some tea here. I cannot verify any of this. I don't know. He's saying that the family was like forging documents.
Which family?
And,
Am I going deaf?
Madhu Pandit's family. This is real soft.
Did he just say this?
He's just starting to say it
I'm
now.
deaf. I'm not hearing anything. I'm just like, what?
So I mean, the factual thing, the thing we know is that the case is not about whether Ritvik is legitimate or not. The case is about property.
Yeah,
but
because
the whole thing about the family taking the money and forging the documents and all, I cannot verify any of that.
I cannot verify that. I don't know any
anything
of that.
about
I cannot take that at any kind
Yeah.
of value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but I do have, there's one thing that pops into my mind. Like, so Dayaram Prabhu, who is by no means, how should we say, free from any commentary in this saga, I will have to say one thing though. Do you think that perhaps he has a point? Because if this is about Prabhupada's order, why is it a legal battle? It should be a philosophical battle.
Yes.
Of course, that kind of
Why-
doesn't make
like,
sense,
why
because
does
then you
this-
would go to court
Yeah.
to defend your temple.
Exactly.
But also, I don't know, I have words to say on
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it is more property inclined than a philosophical. Maybe it's a property dispute under the banner of protecting Prabhupada's will. Because, I don't know. Let's see where this goes. Let's
Yeah.
see where this goes.
Big, beautiful temple of ISKCON in Bangalore. And it is very clearly held by the High Court of Karnataka that he and his family members tried to usurp the temple by manipulating accounts, by fabricating
This is the
documents,
tea you were talking about.
and making a false and fraudulent claim.
See, originally,
temple which-
Madhu Pandit had lost the case
In High Court.
in High Court in Karnataka.
And then it got submitted to Supreme.
And then he kept pushing it again and insisting that it keep going. So that's what he's talking about here.
It belongs to ISKCON registered by Srila Prabhupada in 1971 in Mumbai. Rather, I would quote the line from the judgment. Judge has held. Richer the endowment, bigger the temptation to swallow the same. I think things are very clear. This is a division bench of the High Court.
I don't agree with that.
So it is very clear, only issue was property and he and his family's control over that big property. That's all and nothing else. So it's a completely misleading statement to say the fight is for 9 July later and RITVIK initiation. Okay, I'm
On
clear?
that, I have to agree with him
Yes,
on that.
That's what I'm saying.
So we'll get into the 9th of July letter, but I feel like if the will is Srila Prabhupada, why are you so attached to the temple? The temple was purchased under ISKCON's name.
yeah.
Prabhupada left with nothing to go to America and preach, and he started literally an entire shift in the timeline.
Yeah.
Sure, to some extent I understand it, like this is the temple of Prabhupada, we need to protect it, but it was always under ISKCON's name, legally and socially.
Right.
So if you wanted to go and do something different, and you wanted to preserve your perception of Srila Prabhupada's memory, why not go somewhere else?
Yeah.
I mean,
Make
you
your
could
own
say
temple.
two things to that. It's kind of like,
Although I will say he has since then made more temples, something like 40 temples
really?
since then. Yeah.
Wow, that's something to say too. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately,
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about Madhu Pandit.
Yeah,
and
like there-
ISKCON Bangalore.
there are people like
Like
preaching.
they were
and-
behind Little Krishna, the cartoon.
I just found
I
that out.
didn't know that.
What? I love Little Krishna.
Oh,
Little Krishna
no.
is super cute.
You know, if we could all just get along.
Go, just get along. It's just about Nishanation. I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's about the guru system, which I think is quite a core point. Anyways, let's see.
Okay, I'm clear.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, at this stage where the judgment is about to come, what do you want all of us devotees to do?
Srila Prabhupada registered ISKCON in India in 1971 in Mumbai. In his own lifetime, he opened at least 8 temples in India, like Mayapur, Calcutta, Vrindavan, Delhi, Hyderabad. He opened them as branches of this temple. He never registered a separate entity. He wanted integrity of his entity to remain. Otherwise, he could have easily opened more societies like he did in the West. So we should pray that Prabhupada's example and his integrity of his movement and his society should be maintained, and judges should do justice to ISKCON based on the truth and fairness. So all of us can pray to Radha Madhava in Mayapur, to Panchatattva, to Lord Narasimhadev, that please inspire their lordships in Supreme Court to do a right thing to please Srila Prabhupada and to maintain integrity of his movement and his society properly. And no other
Well,
person in the future should
they already
get
made the
attempt
ruling.
to usurp
This is
any of
before
Srila
that.
Prabhupada's
Oh, this is before
This
that.
is just before the day before.
Oh, I
Thank you.
see.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I just wanted
Girl,
to give
you
some
gotta give me
background.
context.
I did. This is the day before the ruling. I just wanted to just so that you get some background on
background knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
We have to go on a journey, you know.
Okay. Very
So
interesting.
that was his statement, and then can I Google?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So I
So
just
I'm just like digesting, right?
Okay.
I'm just digesting. So, just that comment on Prabhupada's. You see, one of the issues I have is people rationalizing Prabhupada's actions. I don't know. Because I also know that there's another letter by Srila Prabhupada expressly saying that he didn't want centralization in ISKCON. He wanted temples to be independent.
Yep.
Now, how do we balance these seemingly contradictory ideas, right? Prabhupada did not believe in a bureaucratic society where everything had to go through one head, a little bit like what's happening today, maybe in Mayapur, because I noticed that in the smaller temples around the world, you have Leicester and Gainesville and all these tiny little temples. Everyone goes to the temple, everyone prays together, eats together, and everything goes back to their home. I think we're just a little bit biased because in Mayapur, we're the capital, like Mayapur, Vrindavan, Mumbai, Delhi. These are big cities, big communities. But is there something to be said for maybe having subcultures? I don't know. under the umbrella of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON? I don't know. What are you looking at here?
There's a particular article that I'm trying to find where, but basically the Supreme Court, so all these like articles that I read, the Supreme Court says the same thing, but there was one thing that they said in particular that stood out to me, which is basically that you're both spiritual organizations, right? You're providing some good for the community. So this is not about Ritvik, non-Ritvik. Essentially is what they were saying.
Yeah, a court does not have, this also has come up.
The Supreme Court specifically said that this is about land. You're both spiritual organizations doing your thing.
Yes.
We're not involved.
A court does not have the ability to rule on ecclesiastical matters.
Yeah.
Which means religious, You cannot go to the Supreme Court to decide if the Prophet Muhammad was or was not here or there, or, where the Buddha was born, or...
Right.
Like the Ayodhya Temple Supreme Court case, that was, again, about land. And it wasn't, I believe, about who had the religious claim.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, right? So the Supreme Court said, it is completely contrary... Even assuming that ISKCON Bangalore did not possess funds, and even if money came from ISKCON Mumbai, it cannot claim ownership. Only because the existence of the Bangalore branch of ISKCON Mumbai was proved, one cannot jump to the conclusion that allotment of Schedule A property was to ISKCON Mumbai through the Bangalore branch. So it's saying everything is signed off belonging to the ISKCON Bangalore Society. It was not under ISKCON Mumbai at all, but ISKCON Mumbai apparently had given funds to build the temple, assuming that it was under ISKCON Mumbai. So even though ISKCON Mumbai has lost the case, could they possibly take ISKCON Bangalore to court to get that money back? This is Times of India, by the way, where I got the article.
So this is saying that the High Court's interpretation was wrong. Mm-hmm. This is Supreme Court talking about High Court.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's basically saying that the decision that the High Court made that ISKCON Mumbai, let's just say ISKCON, and to make it easier, ISKCON and the RITVIKS instead of ISKCON Mumbai.
Yeah.
They're saying that the High Court's understanding that ISKCON was the owner of the land was wrong, and that actually it deserved to be in the RITVIKS camp. ISKCON Bangalore didn't have the money. ISKCON Mumbai gave it. And now you're saying that there can be a claim for funds. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That will be very difficult to prove. In contract law, at least in the UK, there is a path for something like this. Money being given, money giving back. But there needs to be a proven understanding of a debt relation. Mm-hmm. Right?
Because my understanding would be that ISKCON Mumbai had assumed that ISKCON Bangalore was connected.
Yeah.
So once that connection is broken,
it's severed, then that money must be returned.
Yes.
So I think legally you could definitely make a strong claim for that, but are they going to do it politically? I don't know. What was land worth back then? Like 2 rupees a katha?
Yeah.
Worth.
Well, building the temple or whatever, right?
It's 24 years. This is too long to go for a case.
But I was just curious. You
do. It is true, because if you considered it a single entity, mm-hmm. and now you've severed that, you could be a lawyer, girl.
Thank you.
I like it. I like it.
Well, thank you.
I like it.
I do be thinking.
You do be thinking. I like it. Now, are they going to pursue that? I don't know. Because I don't know what you could do so once the Supreme Court makes a decision, you cannot challenge it. So that is it. Big Daddy has spoken. The law has been set. The mood is, this is final.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just worry about what the impact of this could be to us, to them. I don't know. What do you think?
Considering it's just about land, I don't see any impact. A friend of mine...
Why does nobody see the impact?
Well,
do any of y'all see the impact? Please write in the comments below.
If it's just about land.
Impact.
So here's the thing. It's not that, we have the RITVIKS and the ISKCON. in the temple every day at Mangal Arati punching each other in the face, you know? The RITVIKS pushed all the ISKCON devotees out, took over the temple. Then the ISKCON devotees were like, fine, and they, from the beginning, made their own temple in Bangalore.
Yes.
So it's not that there's some attachment on their end, like, if we don't have this temple, it's all over, we're screwed.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
The fact that ISKCON is now a separate identity, does that mean I can make my own ISKCON? Because this sets a precedent for that.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. I mean, that's actually the only impact that I feel could happen, is that now we have a legal precedent for there is case for splitting off. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I personally am not in the RITVIK camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also not happy with how things are going on in ISKCON. I've always believed in subcultures, right? I feel like Prabhupada didn't want centralization. We have to kind of figure out our own Krishna consciousness in the sense of not make it up as we go, but we need to take our Krishna consciousness more seriously into our own homes, into our own lives, into our own families, because we're just too big to all come to one temple. You know what I mean? But does that mean that are we going to start splitting off? People doing different things?
That's kind of already happened, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How successful has that been?
I mean, ISKCON is, and I think it will be, like, the greater organization. And then there's always these, like...
Where does this organization
So,
go?
for example, we say RITVIK, but even within the RITVIK community, there's different kinds of RITVIKs. They don't all agree on the same thing.
Oh, what don't they agree on?
So, like, for example, GBC. Do we make a GBC? Do we not make a GBC? How do we decide who is the RITVIK that initiates on behalf of Prabhupada?
Exactly.
See?
That's something that I also... Because one of my problems with RITVIKism is, how do you decide that Prabhupada's taking a disciple?
Yeah.
An example I would give is marriage, right? It's kind of like, okay, you are marrying John.
Yeah.
He'll say yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this RITVIKism letter of July 9th, which maybe we should read.
Yeah.
Should we open it up?
Yeah,
let's have a look at this very famous letter that seems to be quoted quite a lot. Okay. Vrindavan, 9th of July of 1977. So this is few months before Srila Prabhupada's departure. And it is written not by Srila Prabhupada. I think that's an important context.
Mm-hmm.
It is written and approved, it says here, approved by Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Right? So it starts off. To all GBC and temple presidents, dear Maharajas and Prabhus, please accept my humble obeisances at your feet. Recently, when all of the GBC members were with His Divine Grace in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada indicated that soon he would appoint some of his senior disciples to act as RITVIK, meaning representative of the Acharya, for the purpose of performing initiations, both first and second initiation. His Divine Grace has so far given a list of 11, these are the famous 11 disciples who will act in that capacity. So already I have to just say that RITVIKism seems to some extent, at least with Srila Prabhupada's intentions, be limited. It wasn't that everyone, because there were a lot more than 11 people who were trusted by Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very small list, considering all the disciples that he had. But what is a list? His Holiness Kirtanananda Swami.
Shout out. No, I'm just kidding. No shout outs.
Satsvarup Das Maharaj.
Jai.
Japataka Maharaj.
The goat.
Tamal Krishna Maharaj.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Literally. Hridayananda Maharaj.
Nice.
Bhavananda Maharaj.
Jai.
Hamsaduta Swami. Rameshwar Swami. Harikesh Swami. Bhagavan Das Adhikari. Not a sannyasi. That's interesting. And Jayatita. Ooh, Jayatita. Hello. Learn your history, y'all. Learn your history. There is tea over there. So, continue. In the past, temple presidents have written to Srila Prabhupada recommending a particular devotee's initiation. Now that Srila Prabhupada has named these representatives, temple presidents may henceforward send recommendation for first and second initiation to whichever of these 11 representatives are nearest their temple. After considering the recommendation, these representatives may accept the devotee as an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada by giving a spiritual name, or in the case of second initiation, by chanting on the Gayatri thread just as Srila Prabhupada has done. The newly initiated devotees are disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the above 11 senior devotees acting as his representative. After the temple president receives a letter from these representatives giving the spiritual name or the thread, he can perform the fire yag in the temple as was being done before. The name of a newly initiated disciple should be sent by the representative who has accepted him or her to Srila Prabhupada to be included in His Divine Grace's Initiated Disciples book. Hoping this finds you well, your servant Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Okay, breakdown. One of the things I'm having trouble with is the fact that this letter is written secondhand.
Okay.
Right? Prabhupada's secretary, sure, but a lot of weight. And this is not me trashing the RITVIKS. This is me just like saying something so monumentous as initiation. I don't want to hear from Srila Prabhupada. Right? So, just to make sure that it's coming from Srila Prabhupada in the way that he meant us to understand it, which I don't think he's not doing here, but it's also like, Prabhupada says this. Okay, where is Prabhupada saying that? Right? And the other thing to me is that this was all done during Prabhupada's...
Antya Leela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. While he was here, because he was sick. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
He was sick. He could not physically go to New Zealand and France, and he couldn't do it anymore. He was very sick towards the end. So, Ritvikism, which is an authorized form of initiation, was implemented to help make disciples while his time was here. How it's being carried out today, I think, with the mass Ritvik initiations, I don't know if I agree with that, but what's your take on it?
So, just to give some context to this letter, like you said, Srila Prabhupada by this time was incredibly sick. Letters are piling up from people who want to take initiation, and they're like being turned away. Like, we can't because he's sick. He's on his deathbed, basically. So finally, there is, thank God, lots of audio conversationings. Lots of audio conversations.
So many conversations.
So many audio conversations where Prabhupada is like talking about this. So this letter is part of, there's an audio about this letter.
Okay.
Where Prabhupada explains exactly like what he wants. So basically, these people that he's mentioning here are people based on where they are. He's not saying that these are the 11 gurus who will be like topmost after me. He's not saying they're the only approved gurus of ISKCON. He's not saying anything like that. He's saying they're doing it on my behalf because they live in North America. In the audio, for example, he goes, he's naming some names and he goes, oh yes, and South America, her Jayananda is there. So add him to the list.
Okay,
that's literally...
So it's an administrative thing.
Yes,
for him.
He's just thinking who is where that can do it on his behalf.
Okay, because this is really good.
One thing that you wouldn't see it in the letter, but it's in the audio. And he says, and for India, I am there. And then he says, and Jayapataka. Oh, thank you. So that's how Jayapataka Maharaj gets added to the list. But he says, I'm there. So it's not that these people are being Ritvik and Prabhupada is just like, I'm out. He just zoomed up to the sky, it was just a matter of all these people want initiation. I can't be in 100 places at the same time. I'm dying.
And he was one.
And he's just one.
We have 11 plus all the other disciples who have come up over the years. Like we had literally one man for the entire globe.
Yes.
Oh, we're so lucky. I miss Prabhupada.
Jai.
But this actually answers a question I've had for a very long time, at least partially. I think because we just don't confront the issue enough to discuss it, which is why I love our podcast. Please subscribe. subscribe and donate, because we need a new tripod.
Yeah.
But a question I had is like, why would Srila Prabhupada recommend these people if they were fallen and blooping all over the place?
Yeah.
This is a question that is very real for the Ritvik side of the camp, which is like, why am I putting faith in this person? And it's not even like, today I ate a bar of chocolate, I'm not supposed to. We're talking about killing and abuse of all nature and theft and financial crimes, physical crimes. Like, am I really subscribing to be surrendered to that person? But it's very interesting to see that at least this angle of it is not forgives Prabhupada. Prabhupada was never under anything, but it's kind of like I'm understanding more that it's more an administrative thing rather than a philosophical divide.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to me. Yeah. Anything else here in this letter? For first both and second initiation.
Yeah. So for me, like, context is king,
Context is king.
So for me, that's the context, is he's going to die, all these people need initiation, and he's just trying to cover his bases, get these people initiated.
And what's happening today? Do you know? Like, do you know how the Ritvik system is implemented today?
So, I mean, it's basically...
Like, do you just walk up and they're like, here's a picture of Prabhupada.
And they have
Here's the cycle.
they have the yagya, and they do the initiation.
Which is fair enough. Like,
Yeah.
that is... I mean, I don't know how Ritvik that is
Yeah.
as a system. I mean, according to this letter, yes. But, like, the reason I say this is because one of the Ritvik arguments in favor of Ritvikism is that there are many in our Sampradaya who are not connected by Diksha in our line. Vyasadeva and I think...
basically everybody, except Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta, yeah.
What about Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not initiated by... He was Okay, I'm going to send you a link.
Okay.
But there is this great, 5-series lecture that Ravindra Swarup Prabhu did called Hidden Secrets of ISKCON, Hidden Secrets of ISKCON, something like this. And and he talks about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur took initiation from some guru out there type person. I don't remember the word for it.
Diksha.
He took Diksha from somebody that's not in our parampara at all, in any way.
Why?
There was nobody qualified.
Who's after Bhaktivinoda Thakur on the line?
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we got...
No.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is initiated by Gorkishore Das Babaji.
Yes.
I always remember because Gorkishore, Guru, GG.
GG.
It's GG, it's good.
GG.
So that's how I remember. Otherwise, I get it confused with Jagannath Das Babaji because he's also in the line. But he's not initiated by anybody.
Or gave initiation.
He's not related to anybody in our parampara.
So, that's very confusing. Okay, so this is a very strong argument for Ritvikism.
Yeah.
This idea that you can internalize your discipleship.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm really glad you're bringing this up, actually, because I have to tell you something.
Oh.
I'm giving up my guru, and I'm taking initiation from Madhvacharya. And now I am a disciple of Madhvacharya.
I have something to add since we're here. I mean, that's all fine.
Yes.
I'm going to go straight to Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
I'm straight his disciple.
Okay.
Done. So I'm your gurus, God brother. You see, this is the issue. I mean, with a little bit of comedy.
Like, if you want to go the Shiksha route of, the Shiksha line is the line.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who shall not be named, but I know you're watching this, and I know I'm going to bring it up. It was like a 2-hour discussion. We ruined everybody's night.
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be like, we're going out as friends, and we're just going to chill, and me and him were just there. Shiksha Diksha.
Yeah.
Nobody, at the end of the day, the whole night was ruined. I was having the time of my life, and so was he. But we were just talking, and he was doing the whole Shiksha is king. Shiksha is more important than Diksha. You don't need Diksha, and Shiksha is everything, right? And my point to my argument to that was like, yes, shiksha is important, but it is not critical. Like, you need the diksha. But of course, I am not reversing my opinion on that, but just to give context, like, if we're going to do Ritvikism, like many in our Acharya line have done, what is the quality of the person going into that Ritvik initiation? When did he do it? How did he do it? Like Gorkishore Das Babaji, he's an Acharya. He wanted to be initiated by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, right?
No.
But couldn't?
No, you're talking about Bhakti Siddhanta wanted to take initiation from Gorky
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Das.
Yeah, my mistake. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Bhakti Siddhanta. No. Wait.
Yes.
I'm confused on the confusion.
You're saying Gorky Shore wanted to take initiation from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I'm saying no. It was Bhakti Siddhanta that
Who wanted to take from Bhakti Vinod Thakur?
That wanted to take from Gorky Shore. And Gorky Shore kept telling him, no, come back tomorrow.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. It's
That's
okay.
not what I heard. You sure you have the right version of ISKCON? Did you update the software? Okay, then I maybe have to update mine. I've heard, I can't remember where it was in the story.
How about Charan? Look it up.
But basically this idea that you go into your own mind because you are that devoted to your guru that you are willing to surrender your entire life in service to Krishna and in service to Krishna consciousness and to spreading it. And you are completely surrendered to this guru. You take him as your guru. That to me, you want to do Ritvik, fine. Because my thing with Ritvikism is that is a commitment. The Ritvikism that was spoken about pre-Srila Prabhupada was something very esoteric and mystical, it seemed to me. It's very seriously taken. It's like a blood oath almost. You know what I mean? It's like, I am yours, Guru. You are my Guru. You are not here, but you are mine, and that's it. Today, the way that it seems very confetti given out, it almost feels like it's crossing some sort of subtle line where it's getting into the, like, you are speaking for Srila Prabhupada. It's practically the same thing that ISKCON's doing. It's just that you don't have a physical guru taking responsibility, because that's the whole point of the guruship, right?
Yeah.
I am taking responsibility for you. You surrender to me. I'm responsible for you. If I'm not here anymore and you're still dedicated to me, sure, but can we say that everyone is like that? I guess that's why this whole point of shiksha comes up. It's like, diksha is not important. You just need someone to talk to. But for me, you need to have diksha.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. Please forgive me for those of you who disagree.
The thing is, like with Diksha though, right? You're sitting at the yajna, you've got your guru there, you've got the Vaishnavas there, and you're making the vows.
You're making the vow that is being witnessed by Vishnu.
I can be like, yeah, so-and-so is my shiksha, and so-and-so is my shiksha, but I haven't made a vow.
Yeah.
That's the difference to me.
So this was what I was saying with my friend, right?
Yeah.
The analogy that I was using, which I feel is very nice, thank you very much, was of a marriage, right? Like, and he obviously had his counter arguments, but I'd like to see your take on this. So I said, like, if we are together, when we get married is when that bond really solidifies.
Yeah.
Because that bond of marriage is sacred. Even though the marriage is not about the ceremony, you're in the altar or the yajna for literally one day, that to a couple of hours. The entire marriage after that is what's really important. That witnessing bond of a vow. When you make a vow, even according to Shastra, it must be witnessed for it to be enforced and binding. That's why they say, you should always tell someone your vows or speak it to the sky, but it must be spoken. There has to be a witness.
Exactly.
So the same thing I would like to apply with Diksha and this concept of physical initiation. You need someone to promise to who is there. If I'm promising to a picture of Prabhupada, how am I being held accountable by somebody who is my Shiksha Guru who's giving guidance?
Right.
What my friend said to that was, well, if I had to flip it on you, there are many people who stay together for many years and don't get married.
Yeah.
And they have a better relationship than those that do, and then they get divorced a year later. What's your take on that? Interesting point.
I mean, yeah, but also that's not, But still the vow must be made.
The vow must be made because that's what we were told to do. But
Because, okay, you could say, yeah, there's some people that stay together forever and they, they never get married and, they have kids and they have a house and they have a whole life. There's also some people who don't get married. They come together, they have a baby daddy leaves, and then she's alone. And that happens a lot too.
And also people getting married do stay together for a long time.
And there's lots of
committed.
people, but what we're trying to do is set a standard.
Yeah, I think that's the falsity of the result versus the concept, right? The concept is a vow, not to change the concept of the vow simply because in many cases the result is wrong, which brings us again. A lot of the reason this Ritvikism is happening is because a lot of our gurus fell down.
Yeah.
Which I think is horrible for us, also, like Prabhupada.
Just to speak about the whole, like, making a vow thing. Like, when we talk about, like, goal setting, for example.
Yeah.
Right? You have a higher chance of meeting a goal when you physically say, this is my goal. And you write it down and you've committed to it. Then, as opposed to just saying, yeah, I want to lose weight.
Exactly.
But if I say, I'm going to the gym for an hour every day, I'm going to cut out all my rice.
I've made the membership and I've thrown out the junk out of my house.
Exactly.
Because I've made a commitment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you could lose weight if you just say, yeah, I want to lose weight, and you just sort of do some pie in the sky thing. You could, but you have a higher chance. Statistically and scientifically, you have a higher chance of following through the goal when you've made, like, a statement, a plan. So it's the same thing with initiation. You say, I'm following the 4 regulative principles, I'm chanting 16 rounds, and I'm never leaving ISKCON, I'm never leaving the shelter of Srila Prabhupada.
Do you think that the RITVIKS devotees, they say that? Like, I love Srila Prabhupada. I love everything about him. His picture's there, and I'm going to promise to him that I'm going to... It's like, for example, just to be, on the other side of the table for a minute, with this letter that we just read, that Prabhupada is accepting recommendations from his different disciples. How is that different now? Madhu Pandit Prabhu is recommending me to Srila Prabhupada. He's performing the yagya and everything. Srila Prabhupada's the guru. How is that different?
Than back then with having
what we're doing now. It's just that the guru is Prabhupada. Is it a big deal if the guru isn't here?
I think it is.
Could you explain why?
So there's RITVIKS bring up this quotation about a living guru. There needs to be a living guru. Now, a guru can decide how much load they want to carry.
That's also what I was thinking of.
Jagannath Maharaj had made some vow to make 300,000 disciples. That's the load he wants to carry. I know some gurus that have only 10 disciples, and that's the load he wants to carry. And that's up to the guru. Srila Prabhupada has never said, I want 10 million disciples. And now you as the RITVIK have to make 10,000 on his behalf.
Why didn't he say so?
So then he gave this 11.
He say so?
And he said, whoever you think is good enough for initiation, initiate them on my behalf.
What does that mean on my behalf? Is it like one of those situations where, like, those Rorschach tests? It's like, I see a duck, I see a rabbit. I know it's a duck. No, it's a rabbit. Like, it's like one of those. Because, like, what does it mean, initiate on my behalf?
So they will be disciples of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
On his behalf. In that time period.
In that time period.
Yes.
So why didn't he say anything about initiation after his passing?
There is another letter and another audio recording where they're basically working on Prabhupada's will. This is like a month before in May of that same year. And they're working on, like, what should happen to the BBT? What should happen to the temples? So then finally they get to what happens to people that want to join ISKCON. And then Prabhupada says, they talk a little bit about, while he's there, the RITVIK thing. But then he says that when he's gone, they will be my grand disciples. And then he clarifies in this audio.
I think I've heard that. It's their disciples.
Yes.
But it was a little vague, and I think people have interpreted it both ways.
Yeah.
Because they're like, whose? And he's like, theirs. Or something. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. And it's like, well, who could theirs be? Like, whoever's giving the initiation, whoever's the guru.
Yes.
So, there's that.
That's clear to me.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because we are...
Like, who is the grand disciple? The grand disciple of who? Bhaktisiddhanta? Like, obviously. The grand disciple of Prabhupada. That's who they would be.
And on this whole note of initiating on behalf of the guru, like, I could not imagine being a guru, initiating and not offering my disciples to my guru.
Yeah.
My guru is His Holiness Japataka Swami.
Shut up.
Shut up. But if I were to initiate, I'm giving all of them to Guru Maharaj. Like, I'm doing this as my service to my Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because I'm some grand, like, this is me.
Yeah.
It's my time to shine, y'all. It's kind of like, even Srila Prabhupada did everything for his guru. So is there maybe a scope for some misinterpretation there?
I don't think misinterpretation. I think they're really just trying to, like, you know, when you're trying to, like, twist the words to suit your narrative.
So the word jugglery.
I think there's some word jugglery with the RITVIKS, sorry to say. But, like, when you hear the audio, you're like, oh, this is actually very clear. You know, what he's
makes
trying
sense
to say.
to me.
Yeah.
But you see, it makes sense to me. Like, it doesn't
because
bother
you're
me
not
that
trying
much.
to suit a certain narrative.
I don't even care whether people do RITVIK, don't. Like, I'm happy where I am in
Yeah.
my Krishna consciousness. I mean, I could do a whole lot better. But you know what I mean? Like, on this debate, like, I am very peacefully, you know what I mean? It's very clear to me, and maybe something... We should have had maybe somebody on the other side of the table come in to maybe, like, give context to that side of the argument.
And they'd be like, and your guru's fake, and your guru's fake, and I just punch that guy in the face. I'm like, don't talk about my guru, he didn't poison Prabhupada.
It's true. I just saw a vein twitch in your forehead. It's all fair debate. You'll die. You have life insurance? You can't kill anyone.
I have property.
You can't kill anyone, Prema.
I just said you get a little punch.
You know, I had another friend of mine, also in that same day's discussion, who said something that I've been kind of mulling over and digesting a lot, which was Srila Prabhupada, being great as he was, working in his mystical way, left things precisely vague enough so that as wide a range of people as possible could take to Krishna consciousness. Right? It's not clear. It's a very achintya, vera vera bada bing bada bunga kind of situation. Yeah. And I feel that Krishna does this. I remember asking once, many years ago, to Chandramali Swami. Big shout out to Chandramali Swami. I have a very special place in my heart for Chandramali Swami.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Very dear to me. And I remember being a kid, like some little country teeny bopper. And I was just, and I asked him once in a lecture, I was like, Maharaj, if Krishna's one, why are there so many different religions? And to sum up his answer, it was basically Krishna approaches different people according to their different capacity, but he's always available to them. Not everyone can be expected to follow the same line of thought. We are all individual. We have very different rasas. We have very different natures. So it would be kind of weird almost if this variety of people with this variety of independence and variety of thought had to be bottlenecked into one idea. Krishna makes himself plentiful. So I kind of thought about that concept a lot in the way that Srila Prabhupada left things. Those who don't believe in the gurus, there's still a space for you. Because one thing I will say is that whatever Madhupad is doing, there are temples being built, there are people chanting, there are people going to deities of Krishna, there are people giving up sense gratification, there are people chanting. I don't know what the standard of rules are for how they chant and what they do, but I do know that they're putting on tilak and dhoti, they are Vaishnavas, they're chanting, they're singing the names of the Lord, they're singing authorized bhajans, not that hippy-dippy, Rama, Rama, Krishna, Rama, Durga, Durga, Rama, Shama, Shama, Hare, Hare, Rama, Shama, Shiva, Shiva. You know, like, it's all authorized. I have to give respect to that.
Yeah.
I have to give respect to that because I do like a tight ship. I could not be on a tight ship because I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy. I love this lazy ISKCON ship. But nice to see that that's being implemented somewhere. I wish we could take strength from that and say, wow, this person is doing something which we don't agree with. You know what? Let's tighten up our act. Let's get it all together over here. We're going to do things our way, but, take inspiration from your adversary or opponent rather than spend 24 years. Do you know how much money is wasted in a court case? Do you know? I'm a lawyer. Just the applications for submissions and hearings alone, the lawyer's fees in a Supreme Court case ain't no 10,000, ain't no 1 lakh. It goes in the crores, right? To argue before a Supreme Court panel, and this has been happening over the course of 24 years, and it's not like they were just building it up. There's regular appearances, new evidence is given, there's a hearing, the evidence is countered, then the court adjourns for the day and sets a new hearing 6 months down the line. You have to appear again. What to speak of the money being wasted and lost? One of the things that makes me really angry is, again, this point, Madhu Pandit Prabhu, why are you so attached to this temple? If you're already being so successful, you have so much money, so much influence, so many people are following you, give the temple back. Why? We've wasted 24 years on a temple. Make a new temple. Make 500 new temples. Mm-hmm. Give food for life to everybody. Show me that, your Prabhupada mentality is Prabhupada would have said wasting 24 years on a court case or a temple. He would beat you. Sorry. With due respect. I get a little... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on our side, too, could we have let the temple go? I don't know, because it was originally ISKCON's. Somebody has come in and said no.
Maybe collaborated with the ISKCON devotees there and see what they think, or something. I don't know. One thing that I will say, while it does seem like Madhu Pandit Prabhu has got something going on that looks good on the outside, devotees that I know who have left that temple and come to ISKCON essentially escaping. Because
I have heard this too.
Yeah, it may seem very nice and glossy on the outside, but there's a lot of fear tactics that he implements that gets them scared to leave. And then if they do leave...
actually? Because I've heard the same thing being said about us. That we are a cult.
Listen, let me tell you something. If I was like, ISKCON, I'm leaving, they'd be like, bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Don't even close the door. Just go.
Just get out of here. So I don't know what ISKCON you're talking about.
No, but it's just I think
ISKCON does that with the material world. I think...
What do you think?
ISKCON will be like, don't leave ISKCON because Maya, you have no chance of survival. And we're like, okay,
It's true.
So, whereas, if you're a Ritvik in Bangalore, they're like, if you join ISKCON, you have no chance of survival.
But did you see that video of Madhu Pandit Prabhu arriving in the airport? And there's this swarm of devotees jumping up and down like he just won Kurukshetra, garlanding him. It doesn't really look like people who were oppressed under fear tactics.
Some people are brainwashed.
We could say the same thing about us. They could say the same thing about us. Oh, those ISKCON people, those guru worshippers, false guru worshippers, they're all brainwashed.
There's a lot to say about ISKCON.
As a logical argument.
What I'm saying, but there's a lot to say about ISKCON.
So much.
But, because I agree, the over-worship of gurus, senior devotees, it can, or how we're so trained to believe that we're not supposed to have wealth, we're not allowed to have money, we're not allowed to have possessions, and then we give it to these gurus, and now they're flying first class, and I'm schlepping on a bus, you know what I'm saying?
I think that there's not enough gurus. Prabhupada wanted everyone to become gurus.
Mm-hmm.
Including
the women!
I don't know. We will discuss that. We will have to make a whole new video for that one. But actually, yes, you know what I mean? He wanted everyone to be gurus.
Yeah.
So, why I mean, nobody wants to take on the role of guruship.
No.
It's too complicated.
Sure.
I think that's actually the issue. You know, we've got a bottlenecked guru system where there's literally only 11, 10, 15 or so Prabhupada disciples, sannyasis,
I mean, you have to consider, though, like, when it was a little bit more open, because that audio that I was telling you about, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu was talking about what the initial system was to become a guru, and it was literally 3 people on the GBC have to approve it, and then you're a guru, the end. And then what happens to the guru? They may or not be qualified. They may or may not fall down. They may or may not take all your money and leave you broke while they're flying first class, you know.
But let me tell you something.
I feel like ISKCON now, even though there may be less gurus, they are a little bit more refined. You know, they have to take all the classes,
I don't know
seminars,
if I agree with that.
No?
I mean, no. Actually, no. I feel like, okay, so the thing is, I'm confused.
Okay.
You say I have like split personality disorder because there's a part of me that follows the guru system as it should be, right? It's, I want to submit to you, you will take responsibility for me. That's it. That's between, if you're my guru, it's a A-B conversation. And it's my job to make sure I find a spiritual master who is qualified. And it's your job to make sure that we have contact.
I think
all these classes and courses and approvals.
Don't you feel like in order to be an ISKCON, like, okay, I could become a guru. I can go out tomorrow and say, anyone that wants to take initiation, like, what stops me? Nothing. But if I want to be an ISKCON approved guru and fall under our parampara.
That's the problem.
The difference.
You fall already under our parampara.
Our ISKCON approved parampara.
No, there's no ISKCON approved. You are in the parampara.
Yeah.
You are initiated by a guru who is initiated by a guru, blah, 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 going up to Mahaprabhu. That's our sampradaya.
Yeah.
So, and your guru has already passed. You are not qualified as a guru. And I'm not saying that because you're a woman, but you know what I mean? Like, you have to get a whole level of sadhana. I don't know how much you have to chant or read or do.
Right.
But are you at the position to be initiating? Yes. Then you initiate. That's it. This whole stamp of ISKCON, and if you can't, then the GBC will block you, and then you will have a sanction letter. Like, this is kind of like putting the Brahmanas under the control of the Kshatriyas. That's chaos. That is literally chaos. That's what destroyed Europe when they tried to bring the church under the control of the king. Look at England.
Yeah.
Because, there are karmis, sure. But, ultimately the Pope was in command. And when Henry VIII didn't want to, capitulate to the orders of the Pope saying, don't get divorced again, because he wanted to dinkle around with every woman he saw, he made a whole new religion and separate. And that kind of set the scene for a whole bunch of war and death and drama.
Yeah.
Sannyasis and gurus should be kept independent. They decide who they want to initiate.
So then what do you think about, like, because I know, like, for example, sannyasis have to submit a financial report every year.
Why are they submitting these reports? The sannyasi lives... Okay, so that was... Okay, going back to my split personality disorder. So there's that.
Because for me, I feel like they're just holding the reins in because there was so much chaos.
Yes.
In the 80s, where you got gurus getting high and on LSD and dancing at Mangalarti.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? You got to listen to that Ravindra Swarup thing.
Telling you.
He tells it all. So
there is the other side of me that wants to keep things like practical and modern. We're not Kali Yuga anymore. So we can't do things the good old days way. We have to submit reports, we have shareholders, we have laws to comply with, we have to submit proof of identification, even though a sannyasi is not supposed to have ID, passport, money, nothing.
Yeah.
That's just not practical for the purposes of what we're trying to do.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do about it.
I'm okay, with the system.
We're bumming. We are a terrible generation.
It literally has nothing to do with it.
We are the failure generation of ISKCON.
I think it's a good idea. You may disagree, but I think it's a good idea to pull those reins in. Are you sure you want to be a guru? Here's what being a guru entails.
We need more gurus.
Give them time to really think about that's what they want to do,
They always say yes. No one's going to say no.
Who knows?
We need
who
more
knows?
gurus exactly for this reason, so that people can spend more time with a spiritual master,
Yeah.
so that they can actually develop that commitment. I don't know. We need more gurus. You want to be a guru?
No.
Why not?
It's a lot of work and having to be responsible for people's lives. Like, I don't want to be a guru because it's like any little thing that happens and then my guru, you know? Like,
That's what a guru. You see, it's a difficult job being a guru.
yeah. I don't want that. I don't care for the worship and I'm happy to fly coach and sit in the back of the bus.
I'll fly business class. Thank you.
I don't need
I don't want to be a guru.
business class. I'm
I'll
not
fly
gonna-
business class.
You know? But like, I
I think you'd be a great teacher. You're very patient.
thank you.
Very patient.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you make a good teacher.
Who knows? Maybe I go back to
Maybe
it,
you should
but-
take one of those guru courses.
I would love to.
Yeah.
You know I'm nosy. So can we now watch the video from Madhu Pandit Prabhu?
Oh, okay.
Yes, because this is the latest update. So Supreme Court ruled in ISKCON Bangalore's favor, and they took a little victory lap, and then he made a statement the next day. And I thought we
right.
should discuss the statement. It was hard for me to like get some background
A
on this
little-
because everything is in Hindi.
Where are we going to start from?
Start
The
from the
beginning? From the
beginning.
very beginning? Okay, here we go.
नमा ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी चारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे विश्वगुरु शील प्रभुपाद की. It's a miracle that
He's reading a statement.
all of us,
I guess.
the devotees
maybe
here, including all of you, are able to be on Hare Krishna hill today.
Is that what it's called? Hare Krishna?
I guess.
3 days back, if the verdict had gone against us, you can imagine none of us we would all be thrown out of this temple. Such was the major decision. And that too a decision from the highest court in India, Supreme Court of India. And 10 days back I had requested all of you to offer prayers to Narasimhadeva. My request to you to offer prayers to Narasimhadeva was not asking you to specifically pray that we should win the Supreme Court case. If you note that, all of you prayed. No, I did not say that. Because ultimately, the will of the Lord has to prevail. One cannot be too sure about one's judgment by his intelligence, limited intelligence. With sincerity, we all are fully convinced that Srila Prabhupada had instructed through July 9th direction that he will be the spiritual master, everybody will
But
be
do
the
you see
disciple.
how he's making it about the July 9th
Yeah.
letter? And it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
He's making it into some kind of divine prophecy by the Lord and Prabhupada that took mercy on Hare Krishna Hill.
Yeah, I kind of see that it's more of a philosophical, but of course it
It's-
makes sense that he would do that because at the end of the day, regardless of what the court says, he's fighting for this on behalf of his belief in this letter. That's his motivation, per him.
Yes, but it's not true.
I mean-
Per the Supreme Court. Who said, we have nothing to do with your spiritual beliefs.
Well, per him, he's like going on about it, saying like, we have won in the victory of Dharma or whatever,
Per me, the ocean is in the sky, but that doesn't make it true.
Let's see where it goes. Who knows? He may be onto something.
Disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Even after 19...
See, my question is, why doesn't... I would like to see what his commentary is on... One of the elements to me of a good conversation of somebody who is intellectual is their ability to take on the information that opposes them. So in this case, has there been any commentary from him on the audios that you were saying where, they will become their disciples? You know what I mean? Or is it just July 9th, July 9th?
It's all July 9th, July 9th. And even when there's some pushback about the audios, there's some jugglery, or there's not really a good explanation.
So it's just July 9 and bye.
Yeah. And then where in the
Because
audio,
there's so much...
where I think it was it Satsvarup Maharaj or Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, where Prabhupada says that they'll initiate on my behalf. And then one of them says, Ritvik? And he goes, yeah, Ritvik. But he's not like, yes, that's the way. He's just sort of like, yeah, it's a Ritvik.
He was sick.
Yeah.
So do you expect him to jump out of his bed and...
yeah, pop it for the Ritvik,
No, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I'll be fair on that. But, like, there is so much information.
But they take that and they go, see? He said Ritvik. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what he was talking about. And let's also consider that when we're talking about a disciplic succession, we should also talk about precedent. And there's never been a Ritvik system. Otherwise, why am I not initiated by Madhu Acharya? And why are you not initiated by Lord Chaitanya?
No, but like what we were
There's
talking
no
about,
precedent.
there is precedent. There is Vyasadeva, and there's Madhu Acharya, and there's what's his name, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. These are all Ritvik initiated.
No,
they're not Diksha.
They all took Diksha from somebody. I mean, Vyasadeva is Krishna,
But not from in the line.
Well, we don't.
Okay, that's a different story.
But we don't have a Diksha line.
That's exactly what the Ritviks are saying, girl. That you don't need to have a Diksha line, and therefore you can just...
But then I can just pop in and be like, I'm initiated by Lord Chaitanya now. Everybody bow to me. Like,
okay, but, so that is a valid argument. Like,
Yeah.
who gets to decide?
That's what I'm saying.
How do you decide?
How far back am I allowed to go?
No, I
I'm
know
initiated
that.
by Krishna now.
No, because they're using Prabhupada's words. They're
Yeah.
my disciples.
Yeah.
So that's it. You gotta be a Ritvik now. She's gonna kill me.
No, they're my disciples in that time, right?
Yes. I feel. To me, it's very clear.
Yeah.
We are a disciplic. For me, the clarity comes to that we need a physical presence of a guru we have committed to, because as Kali Yuga progresses, our desires are getting wilder and wilder and wilder.
Yeah.
It is way too easy to go up to a picture of Prabhupada and say,
Yeah.
you need that commitment. So I don't see an issue with people after Srila Prabhupada giving an issue. Why not? Is it because they're white? Oh, a white person couldn't possibly be on the level. Must all be Indian? Is it because they fell down? Okay, so now anyone after Srila Prabhupada is completely unauthorized? Is that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Are we going to compare everyone to the previous guru? Can Prabhupada compare to Sarasvati Thakur? No. Can Sarasvati Thakur compare to Bhaktivinoda Thakur? No. Can Bhaktivinoda Thakur compare to Jiva Goswami? No. Like, it's not a comparison. It's for the purposes of us actually taking a spiritual master. Shiksha is important, but I wouldn't say as important unless you are that committed. I'll give you that much. You're one of those rare few people who will say, you know what, I surrender everything, my all, my children, my life, my wife. I'm not going to go on Netflix. I'm going to follow the 4 regs. I'm not going to eat chocolate or this or that. I'm not going to eat eggplant on Ekadasis or whatever it is. You want to completely surrender yourself. Okay, I'll give you my stamp of approval. Sorry, it's going to be weird. I'm like, I'll give you my stamp of approval to take a Ritvik initiation, because that is what Ritvik is. To be so absorbed in the mind, in the service of your guru, that you completely accept him as your own. Is that happening today? I don't know. It just happened. It just feels like it's a mass initiation thing. Madhu Pandit Prabhu is giving these recommendations on behalf of Prabhupada. He's not taking the responsibility, is he?
No, he's not the guru.
Who takes responsibility in a Ritvik initiation?
That's a good point. right? Like, who carries
It's
the
like-
burden? Is it all
Prabhupada taking
Prabhupada?
it.
And Madhu Pandit's like, see ya, Prabhu.
Yeah, like why?
Yeah,
You know, like
that's a good point. Who
that's
carries
not-
the burden? Who carries the load?
That is the whole point. There is a master who's taking the burden of training you up.
Yeah,
It's not a credit system. He takes your karma while you figure it out. No, it's like a teacher student, you know. The teacher has to come, like you when you're a student. You fail your duty as a teacher. You know, you come in and then you take all these arrows for them and they get better for you and they become teachers and they teach onwards. It's like, it's very clear to me. So I don't know. Anyways, let's continue here. We blab a lot. Oh my God.
there's a lot to unpack.
77. That conviction, we did not give up. From whatever we have documents, we were always saying, please, we're telling the GBC. In 1999, I went before the international GBC. Satik Prabhu was there, Adridharan Prabhu was there,
Good, cool.
and they gave us time. We presented that as far as today the evidence is concerned, there is no order superseding July 9th order of Srila Prabhu 1977, which gives the kind of initiation system that should happen in ISKCON. There is no order superseding that. As far as we know, if you have anything you can produce. Maybe we don't know. You produce. Till then, let us follow this system. And we only said that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's only 11 people, and Madhu Pandit Prabhu is not on that list. 11 people, Prabhupada said, can give Diksha. Where's
Oh!
your name? Where's
Lawyer.
your name?
Lawyer.
Isn't it? If only 11
Lawyer.
people were given by Srila Prabhupada to give initiation on behalf of him,
And if nothing else supersedes that.
yeah, then where's your name?
She's a, watch out for her.
Telling you.
She's tricky.
Let's follow this system.
Also,
This is amazing.
so he's saying that nothing supersedes the July 9th letter.
Yes.
So are we at that point where now we have a chronological basis for evidence rather than contemporary understanding?
What do you mean?
So he's saying that nothing supersedes July 9th, so bye.
Yeah. He said there's nothing that's happened after that. Like, Prabhupada hasn't given any further instruction. But there was his will that was done the couple months before.
You said May.
May.
May is before July.
Yes, the couple months before.
So July supersedes May.
Yes. But I'm saying, other than that, a will, I think, is a lot more solid than a statement written by Tamal Krishna
No,
Maharaj.
everything is valid. Yes, that's true. But everything is valid from Srila Prabhupada. And I just feel like because that is so, we should not look at Srila Prabhupada's words chronologically. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yes.
The second canto of the Bhagavatam doesn't trump the first.
Yeah.
I mean, in a
I
way,
agree
there
with
is
what you're
a...
saying. And again, like, context is king.
Context is king. Of course, the 10th canto is like special and unique and very powerful, but it has to be read contemporaneously,
Yes.
not chronologically. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Let's follow the system. Till then, stop initiation in ISKCON. Let's have debate, let's have discussions. And if anybody wants to produce any new documents which we do not know, that Prabhupada wrote to somebody or this or that or something which is missing, or if some missing tapes were discovered.
How
some
about you take
recorded
things
tapes
in
were all
context?
missing
God!
very prominently in those dates, for 1 or 2 months, Prabhupada's recorded tapes have vanished.
Please.
So in case it comes up, we want to know. So we cannot be 100% sure of anything. Suppose something comes up. So the open mind we presented to the GBC that please let us discuss and debate. Let us look for any new materials proof.
But nothing has stopped anybody from this. There's lots and lots of books written about Ritvik, lots and lots of books written about Prabhupada, the audio tapes have been scoured and listened to backwards and forwards and upside down.
The Shastras have been quoted.
Yeah.
It's not a question of evidence at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
So
That's
it's
not
like,
a
what is
subculture.
there to discuss further?
I don't
Nothing.
know.
There's nothing. No tape. It's not that I'm going to be digging around up there and suddenly Prabhupada tape is going to fall in my lap saying, hey, by the way.
I don't know that if such a tape were to be discovered, that anything would really change at all.
Yeah. Or it would be the same, like little, but he said, however, or henceforth, or he said, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. Because there's already a lot of information, it's just not being taken into context.
Yeah.
Unless there's a clear letter, which brings me back to that understanding, right? It's just like Prabhupada left things vague enough so that different people can follow. Of course, this is a very wild way to take it forward. I don't know. Let's see.
Meantime, we request that when we are not sure, let us not continue with this diksha.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, for
Especially when you have already admitted that you have erred in making the zonal acharya system, which created havoc in Prabhupada's institution.
Right,
which
and then it was
the
rectified.
GBC admitted
Yeah.
that it was a wrong thing.
see, the thing is that after Prabhupada left the material world, devotees needed to take advice from somebody. So the next person that they went to was Sridhar Maharaj. Because Prabhupada said, if you have any questions, ask Sridhar Maharaj. So they went
Questions.
to him. Yes. So it was sort of like, how do we proceed with our organization now? Now, Sridhar Maharaj, okay, some background. So forming a GBC was actually the idea of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Yes, that I know.
And the Gaudiya Math did not comply with that request. They then, after Bhakti Siddhanta left his body, they made another Acharya. That Acharya fell down, and that's what sort of led to
Set the scene.
Yeah, to breaking up the whole Gaudiya Math system, where everybody just grabbed a temple and they became their own Acharyas. Sridhar Swami is the one that insisted on there being a new Acharya, because this GBC system thing was there was no concept of a GBC. And Sridhar Swami was like a fundamentalist. So he says, yes, now Bhakti Siddhanta, our Guru Maharaj has died, we need to appoint a new Acharya to lead our Gaudiya Math. So it kind of, once again, like Prabhupada left his body, he said, if you have any questions, go to
Has
Maharaj.
that happened before, where a new Acharya was appointed? Like, how do you become an Acharya? Obviously, like, from a spiritual concept, you're self-illumined by you're empowered, but has there ever been a time where everyone just got together and was like, do you vote Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Then okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's also a strange concept in itself, to appoint an Acharya.
Yeah.
So how do you go about with that? A GBC for managerial purposes, I get.
Yeah.
But until an Acharya becomes evident, how does that work?
I have no idea. I have no idea how that system works. An Acharya, it works when it's like one temple and you have one guy that ran it, and then he'd appoint his successor. But Bhakti Siddhanta was like appointing a GBC. He's like, I need a GBC to run all this stuff.
Because we're big.
Yeah.
And we're already having problems being this small. Imagine when Krishna consciousness spreads all over the world. You know, like, that's going to be tricky.
So Maharaj, being a little bit more of a traditionalist type person, in his discussions with those devotees, right, suggested like, well, now you need to have an Acharya system. So that's kind of how the zonal Acharya system came about.
So that they could ease the burden of these disciples throughout the world. Of course, that was catastrophic.
It was awful. It was an awful idea.
It was,
which, of course, was foreseen by Bhakti Siddhanta. Nobody can be an Acharya in this day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand the intent, you know, because now we have, of course, we've got such a globalized world that everyone's going everywhere. It's difficult to have really a zone. But I guess you're in charge of your area. Like Prabhupada said, oh, South America, oh, Hridayananda's there.
Yeah.
So that I think kind of gives support to that understanding. I don't know, there's a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
Them to have done that. And very soon, after 1977-78, in 2-3 years, it became well known that Prabhupada never appointed them as
Okay,
Zonal
so
Acharya.
this is something I have to say. This is a little in bad taste.
Yes.
This is now becoming a little...
Offensive?
You just want a victory?
Yeah.
Are you now going to get into the ugliness? You know, it's a bit spiteful. Can I say, you know, like Dayaram did the same thing?
Yeah.
You know, like accuse his family of stealing and all that. I think they're both, you know, like this is all both very, you know, you've got evidence of money laundering, show me. Otherwise, but you've just won a case, now you're going to go on a video and you're going to spend all that time trashing. That doesn't strike me as very elegant, right?
And I mean,
Certainly not what Prabhupada would have done.
for me, what makes a difference is like, okay, Dayaram Prabhu said like his thing about them forging documents and this and that. But this is more about like the foundation of our movement.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
one is like,
This is not about the case. This is about...
like what do I have to do with ISKCON Bangalore and your beliefs and your Ritvik that you're now attacking me, a random person? He's attacking you because he's fighting with you. But if Dayaram went and pointed to somebody else and was like, and you!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is what he's doing to me. He's attacking me and saying that my Diksha system is not right.
I feel like this is not...
Do you know what
this
I'm
could have
saying?
been elegantly saying, like, if he wanted to take his win a little more gracefully, it would have been like, you know, we have won, you know, our system is protected, our people is protected, and we will move forward and we will continue to spread Krishna consciousness to everyone in the name of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Let us keep up the good fight type thing.
Yeah.
Not, let me tell you about ISKCON.
And the zonal acharyas. And it's like, no, nobody is talking about zonal acharyas.
I think they both get a no from me, you know what I mean? Like, they're not getting golden buzzer from me anytime soon.
No.
Acharyas, the only appointment that was there was as Ritvik Acharyas, officiating Acharyas. That is the only thing that was appointed. Otherwise, Prabhupada did not appoint. So, in this spirit of we not claiming to know everything, we prayed to Narasimhadev. If it is your will that we are on the right path, then you may allow us to continue this system. You may allow us to serve Srila Prabhupada with this conviction. And we knew that if it was the judgment were to go against us, we would all be, anybody who maintains that Prabhupada is the Guru, this is a system of initiation, they would say you cannot be in ISKCON. So if the property was declared to be Bombay's, we'd all be out by now.
It's a little dramatic,
So
but
it is not,
I mean, not
when
wrong.
I visualize that, I'm feeling, it's like,
Imagine how the
Two
ISKCON
extremes.
devotees felt when you kicked them out. It's kind of like
today
that
the
feeling.
judgment is in our favor and we are here. Prabhupada has confirmed
You're right.
you're on the right path, and Prabhupada has shown to the Prabhupada, Narasimhadev, our deities have shown to the world
Why?
that if
Where
anybody
did the
wants
sun
to
go? I
follow
don't know.
Srila Prabhupada's direction and want to become a disciple of Prabhupada directly, then today we have got ISKCON Bangalore and its 52 other temples where they can come and take shelter of the Ritvik system of initiation.
That was the sign. Ooh.
Okay, guys, we're back. We got the wrong video.
Vijayotsava Day that we are
See,
celebrating.
and they put some little music
I
behind
would
it.
like to make a offering to the GBC and ISKCON Bombay. So coming to the offer to the international GBC, in spite of winning not only the property battle for ISKCON Bangalore, but also winning to function in ISKCON name all over India, in spite of GBC having rejected our
I didn't hear
earlier
about that
offer
part.
for peace.
I didn't hear about that part.
Yeah.
That ISKCON Bangalore has the right. No. He has the right to operate all over India under the name of ISKCON, but ISKCON is also now recognized as a separate entity, which is confusing to me. How can you have two separate entities run separately under the same name? It's like copyright
Exactly.
issues.
Yes.
How can you have two Coca-Colas?
Yeah.
I don't know about this Supreme Court ruling, but there's nothing we can do about it.
I mean, as far as what it says on the documents for the deed, it says ISKCON Bangalore Society. So
Okay,
it's
that's
not
a
that
different
you're
name.
running under ISKCON. You're running under ISKCON Bangalore Society. So,
exactly.
So he's like muddying the water here.
A little bit,
You know?
yeah.
We once again give an open invitation to ISKCON Bombay and GBC for the next 30 days that we are ready to discuss the terms of how we can bring all our temples under your GBC. But with one and only, no two, one and only non-negotiable condition that GBC allows only the RITVIK system of initiation as per July 9th. And that too, we are not telling you change your system. The temples that we have, we are giving to you, and there you don't interfere. There, this will be the system. In our temples that we hand over, I know many are watching this online. So therefore, I am giving this offer to them, peace offer. However, it is our last attempt to the GBC. Please have an all-inclusive ISKCON.
That's interesting.
I don't agree.
I agree. If I understood correctly, the offer is, let us all come under the banner of ISKCON. They will come under your GBC. In our temples, let us do our RITVIK initiation. I don't have a problem with it.
I do.
Why?
So it would be under the banner of ISKCON.
I like this. I like the family united.
No.
Yes, they
No.
are our weird cousins.
No.
We have
Yeah,
to
right,
love
and
them.
cousins stay back in the Podunk
No,
Appalachian
we
Mountains.
love them. We give them a slice of pie.
No.
We are a family.
No.
We should be together.
No.
It is not us against the RITVIKS. It is the Vaishnavas against Maya.
Yes, and they'll fight Maya
And
over
they
on
have
the
their
hills.
space. They have their temples.
They'll
in
fight on Hare Krishna Hill.
They're on
and
Hare
then
Krishna
we'll
Hill
fight-
under
and-
GBC. This is great. I don't have a problem with
okay,
this.
so here's my question. Okay, my question is it comes down, I guess, to the semantics of it, right? It's like you can get initiated from Jaipataka Maharaj. You can get initiated from who else gives initiation? I don't know anymore.
Radhanath Maharaj.
Radhanath Maharaj,
and
or
Lokanath
you can take
Maharaj.
initiation from Prabhupada.
Under a RITVIK system.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like that's a little bit too. First of all, I would have to be okay with the RITVIK system, which
I don't
I'm
have
not.
a problem with the RITVIK system.
I do.
I don't have a
I don't have a problem if it's not under ISKCON. Like if they want to go do
I
their
have
own
a
thing.
problem with how
it's fine.
Madhu Pandit's doing it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the concept. You see what I mean? It's kind of like, why not come under Srila Prabhupada? Like, what's the problem?
I mean,
not because all of our gurus are terrible and we are nothing and we are false idol worshippers. You know, it's like, okay, we have gurus and we also have somebody. Okay, but then it kind of falls apart. Like,
Do you
can't
see?
have
It doesn't
somebody...
work like that. And then also, does that mean that they can lead kirtan in our temples? They can give Bhagavatam class in our temples? I mean,
Ooh.
have you heard of a RITVIK person giving Bhagavatam class? It's like, okay, there's Krishna consciousness there, but they also like don't have any respect for our gurus at all in any
First
way.
of all, ISKCON will never go for it because...
Of course, because we got sense.
But like, I like the idea of the spirit of cooperation. I like that there's I don't know if he's going to follow through on his word, if ever we took him up on it, but I like the idea that there is some effort. I can respect the effort at trying to be closer.
Yeah.
That is something that is very important to me, actually.
Here's the thing. I agree with closeness, right?
Yes.
Like you said, there are hillbilly cousins.
I don't like
right?
devotees in YouTube against other devotees
Right.
on YouTube because they don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to offend anybody here, but this has become a bit sensationalized.
Yeah.
And there are devotees accusing other devotees. And there are certainly things wrong on both sides of the table, but it's time that we wrap up this saga and we get to the business of worshiping Krishna. We should have a guru, whether Shiksha or Diksha, that's open to discussion, but there's too much divisiveness. I can respect him reaching out, but you do have a fair point. It's like, are they going to give classes being like, anyways.
Like, I have no objection with, Malati Prabhu made a very nice quotation where she said,
Malati Prabhu?
Mataji Prabhu, you know what I mean?
Oh, does she go? I don't know who that is.
She goes by Prabhu, Malati.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like she's trying to make, anyway, I'm cutting this out, but she's trying to make a point that Prabhupada never used the term Mataji, so she doesn't go by Mataji, she goes by Prabhu. Because Prabhupada calls everybody Prabhu, even the women.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. There's only one documented time where he said Mataji, and it was to someone he didn't know.
What about Yamuna Mataji?
Prabhu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, she goes by Prabhu. So anyways, Malati made a very interesting quotation where she said, good neighbors have strong fences.
Yes.
So I have no objection with being cordial, despite everything they said about my guru. And I'm sure despite everything, because Madhu Pandit Prabhu was formerly your godbrother. So despite everything he said about your guru, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm also like...
So, despite all of that, I don't mind having good relations. But I don't see why they should all be under ISKCON and then it's like, who's giving the Bhagavatam class and can you believe he said this about this guru, or you can take initiation from Radhanath Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, or Prabhupada, and then suddenly your Jayapataka Maharaj's godbrother, even though you're like 12, So there's too much weirdness there. I do there was a point in time, there was a sannyasi, a Gaudiya Math sannyasi who has now fallen down, but he had a very interesting thing that he used to do every year, where here in Mayapur, he would bring all the Gaudiya Maths and ISKCON together and they would have like a big program and celebrate each other.
Yes.
I was okay with that.
That's one of the things
it's a very nice idea.
My Guru Maharaj also pushes for is inclusivity in the Sarasvati family.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that now I'm going to Gaudiya Math and I'm going to sit on the Vyasasana and give a class, or that they come to ISKCON and they're going to do like their Gaudiya Math thing, It's, we have respect for each other. We have some cooperation because we kind of have to live in the same area. But it's not that we're beating each other up and we're fighting and we're talking bad about each other and you and you and you and you, So that I'm okay with.
I get that.
Yeah.
I think this just furthers my point. Maybe I'll go back on what I said. Although as much as I like his offer, maybe practically it's not so wise because maybe we're getting too big. And I think we need to have space for different subcultures in ISKCON. I've been saying this time and again. We need subcultures. Things need to be taken to a smaller level, not a bigger one. We have millions, not thousands, not hundreds. We have millions of devotees all over the world. It's hard to manage. And ISKCON gets blamed for everything.
Yeah.
So, that's a topic for another discussion, which we'll probably have soon. But maybe it's time that, maybe... I just don't know how I feel about being under ISKCON, but maybe ISKCON should be the name everywhere, But I don't know. See, this is too confusing. Because
then you're inviting them to... you know what I mean? We need to have our boundary, our fences.
But as time goes by, how do we make that clear? We don't even clean up our own house nicely. You know what I mean? It just invites problems.
Yeah.
This
to me feels like it's a little too messy.
Do you think he made that comment just because he knew he'd want to be rejected?
He was trying to be like a little bit of a sneaky snake, being like, well, we're the good guys, and even though we won the case, I will give the property to you if you can repeat July 9th. You can repeat it. You know? And then ISKCON is like, please just go
Did
away.
ISKCON say anything?
No, they've said nothing yet.
Got their days.
Srila Prabhupada's movement is the only hope for bringing peace and happiness in this world. Let all our energy go towards expanding the movement and not for any internal squabbles. Finally, what happens with this peace offer? With great hope we are offering. After winning we are offering.
Wow! See?
No need for any more evidence that it is a property dispute. It is not a property dispute. Take it. Even now you take it. 25 years of struggle in the court to establish this property is ISKCON Bangalore societies. Still, you all enter into ISKCON Bangalore society and you run the society. It is ISKCON. With same terms of that, me and Chanchalapati will do some no management service, some pujari service we do.
See? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see it? You see it, right? You're the politics guy, so you know.
I see it. It was good
like,
up until then.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay.
See, he's like, just let me be a pujari in the temple, even though I'm on the whole case. You know what I mean?
I've heard this story before the same way. It's like, okay. If you accept the RITVIK
If
system.
you accept the RITVIK system, we are ready to sacrifice anything.
See,
but
that's the condition.
we'll humbly request you, please keep us as pujaris. So whether what happens is a will of the Supreme Lord, just like we said in the court case. Ultimately, everybody has to accept the final will of Krishna. He is watching. It is not humans who do these things. We are all Vaishnavas. All big decisions are taken by the Supreme Lord himself, Srila Prabhupada himself, by the entire Guru Parampara themselves. No accidents can happen.
Or could it be like Krishna's like, look, you don't need this land. Just let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or it also can be
Couldn't that
Krishna's
be the
will
message?
that, he puts us in the spotlight to see how we handle the situation.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
Krishna's will can be interpreted so many different ways.
Yeah.
Krishna's inconceivable, but it could just as much be a will that this is what he's saying as, Krishna's will is, to see what you do with your free will, because we all have our own free will.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, irrespective of what response we get from GBC, their GBC. Yesterday, our ISKCON group of temple GBC met together
Oh, they have a GBC
and
too?
passed this resolution to offer them all this same peace. Let us discuss the terms, and if they are ready to declare that RITVIK system will be implemented in these 52 centers of Hare Krishna movement. So, irrespective of their response, one thing is certain now, with this victory in the Supreme Court, that Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON Hare Krishna movement is unstoppable. It will grow and grow and grow and fulfill all Srila Prabhupada's desires. We will all give our life till the last breath. We will try to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's ambition to spread Krishna consciousness every town and village. Srila Prabhupada ki, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Once again, please, just think about how much gratitude we should be having to the Lord towards the deities here and Srila Prabhupada and Nama Prabhu, where
Maybe it's
every
time.
Ekadashi we do.
No. You're buying this?
No, but maybe it's time for a new, you know what I mean? Like,
A new fence. Yeah, higher.
do we need another 24 years of the same case?
I mean, I don't think they should fight over land. I think everyone should just leave each other alone and just let it be. Because ISKCON will never recognize RITVIK as a authorized system of initiation.
Well, guys, to wrap up our episode here, what did you guys think? Did we miss anything out? I felt like it was a very...
We covered
We
everything.
in depth.
I didn't
like
think it'd go on this long.
We talked about everything.
In the description box below, you can find out ways to support our channel.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free to like, share, subscribe. As always, be good to each other and be good to yourselves. And thank you for being
damn
good.